everybody, let's work more travel, and I come to you from a not so warm England. It is absolutely freezing here. If you're abroad, stay there. Why bother coming back? This is the reason why I'm recording inside. I tried to go outside and record in my dad's garden, not a chance. I lasted about 20 seconds and had to come in. So in today's vlog, we're just going to do a comparison vlog. Another one, my final one of Southeast Asia, where we're going to compare Thailand to Cambodia to Vietnam. And just give you a quick overall positives and negatives of my travel in them three countries. So I started in Bangkok, Thailand. I stayed there for approximately 3 weeks. And in that time, I was just learning the basics of actually just becoming a travel vlogger. To be honest, by that point, I barely knew how to turn on a GoPro, let alone how to use video editing software. So one thing I am quite happy with is I haven't actually been doing this that long, and I've produced quite a lot of videos. So I've had quite a steep learning curve in regards to becoming a travel vlogger. After then 3 weeks in Bangkok, I then explored the islands of Thailand, or at least some of them. I started in Koh Samui, I then went to Koh Phangan, went to the full moon party, and then ended up in Koh Tao. And this was possibly actually maybe the best part of the travel, location wise. I would say the islands of Thailand, they are kind of what you'd think. They are just absolutely incredible. And just walking up and down some of the beaches in Koh Phangan and Koh Samui were absolutely brilliant during the daytime. And that was really one of my highlights of my travel in Southeast Asia. So after Thailand, Cambodia. I was in Cambodia for 10 days. I spent 5 days in Phnom Penh, where I stayed in the Mad Monkey Hostel, one of the best hostels I stayed in throughout my 4-month trip of Southeast Asia. If you're wanting to stay in a hostel in Phnom Penh, I'd highly recommend Mad Monkey. It was absolutely brilliant. And after Phnom Penh, 5 nights in Siem Reap, and I had really good time in Siem Reap. It was when the World Cup final was on, and I'm a huge football fan, so it was really good fun watching the World Cup final down Pub Street in Siem Reap. And I'd highly recommend going to Siem Reap, and that was obviously where one of the highlights of my trip was as well, and that was going to Angkor Wat. Angkor Wat was really good, and it's just a must see if you go to Cambodia. So it was a pretty good day in Siem Reap. I spent the afternoon in Angkor Wat. I then went to watch the World Cup final down Pub Street in the evening. That wasn't a bad day of my travels. And then finally, of course, Vietnam, where I spent the first month in Ho Chi Minh. And Ho Chi Minh was incredible. I'd been there before. Was it as good as last time? Not quite. Not enough tourists there yet. But yeah, I had a brilliant time in Ho Chi Minh. And then in the second month of travel, my final month of my overall travel, was the trip through Vietnam, where I went to Mune, Dalat, Nha Trang, Da Nang, and then finally ending up in Hanoi. So that was the final month of Vietnam and the final month of my overall trip. So firstly, accommodation. And accommodation's a weird one, because out of Thailand and Vietnam, there's better accommodation for different things. If you're in the cities, better value for money accommodation is in Vietnam, because Ho Chi Minh, for an example, has so much cheaper accommodation than, say, Bangkok. So accommodation is better, I would say, in Vietnam, in the cities almost. But I didn't stay in some very nice hostels in Vietnam, and I actually stayed in some really good ones on the islands of Thailand. So it's a bit of a strange one. Hostels, it seemed like for me, Thailand had better hostels. But for longer term accommodation, flats, if you're staying there a month plus, I would say Vietnam was better. And a big side note on accommodation, very important when you're travelling. Longer term stays, Airbnb. Shorter term stays, either booking.com, Agoda or Hostelworld. Them three. Second, transport links, because it's kind of an important thing really. It's how easy it is to get around the country. And I'd say Thailand is definitely top of the list for this one. It's just like Bangkok especially, it's just so many different forms of transport. The MRTs, the subways, the tuk-tuks, etc. I've explained it all in previous videos. But yeah, transport links and like ease of getting around, a little bit more developed. I would say Thailand is top of the list. Third, food. Well, in the whole of Southeast Asia, you're not really going to go wrong. If I had to really pick which out of the three countries I enjoyed the food the most, I would probably say Thailand. Just because Thailand cuisine is just so nice. And there's just a huge variety as well, as there is in Vietnam. But personally, I just like Thai food a little bit more. But yeah, food is just a whole nother topic, and there's plenty more videos about food in Southeast Asia, so you don't need to look at my channel for that. But yeah, food in Southeast Asia is just incredible, and it's just so cheap. I didn't cook for 4 months, which was absolutely amazing. And yeah, that's another highlight of the trip. And out of the three countries, by quite a long way, it's Thailand. There's just so many different places you can go out. And you've got the big crazy cities like Bangkok to go out in, and all of the islands, especially when I went to Koh Phangan for a full moon party. You've got parties on islands, you've got cities. Chiang Mai, the nightlife's going to be great there. So yeah, overall Thailand was quite a bit better if you want to travel Southeast Asia and really explore the nightlife. You're not really going to go wrong with Thailand. If you travel in Southeast Asia, you almost do have to have one night out in Bangkok, at least one. I had quite a few, and it's just a really good experience. You really experience, it's called the Sin City of Asia, right? So the stuff you see in that city, you probably won't see in many other cities in the whole world. So I would highly recommend exploring Bangkok nightlife. It's pretty wild. Although saying that, a shout out to Siem Reap. That pub street for a nightlife, considering it's quite a small city, is absolutely brilliant. When I watched the World Cup final there, the whole street was absolutely bouncing. And obviously nightlife in places like Ho Chi Minh was good, but it wasn't quite as good as it was when I was there 4 years ago. So yeah, nightlife in Vietnam in general was good, but it's going to take quite a while for it to pick up again, I would say. Could take another year or two. Number 5, a kind of cost of living. And when I talk about this, I just talk about like if you're going to stay somewhere for a month or two, maybe on a limited budget. And the winner, I think, definitely goes to Vietnam for that. It's just because Ho Chi Minh's a really big city, but you can actually live there. You can rent quite a nice apartment. You can kind of go out all the time. You can eat street food all the time for a really low price, a lot cheaper than the lifestyle you could have in Bangkok. So overall, out of the 3 countries that I went to, Thailand, Cambodia and Vietnam, which was the best country I went to? I'd say I'd give it to Thailand, to be honest. Just overall, it just had everything you want out of like a trip abroad, I would say. The nightlife's great, the food's great, the weather's great, the beaches are great. Like the nightlife's amazing, it's really cheap, it just ticks all boxes really. And it's just because you've got the islands as well, you can have such a good combination of the big city life and also chilling out on some world class islands. And I suppose this is the final video in the series of Southeast Asia, and as I go through the months and months and hopefully years of doing this, I'll create different series all through my trips around the world, hopefully. I'm currently in the planning phase of another trip. I'm going to be exploring quite a bit of Eastern Europe. Where? I'm not sure at the moment. That's what I've been spending the last week or so trying to figure out. But don't worry, there's plenty more travel vlogs to come.